Okay, so today we're going to do the second module. This is the calculator application mainly. I'm just going to work mainly in calculator application. Hit the home key, go to new number 1, and say no, don't save document. Whatever you had before, we don't need it. We're going to add the calculator page. It's mainly what we're going to work on right now. So again, just to review how to get a fraction, control divide is one way. I like that way. You can see it in blue right above the divide key. You can add fractions, 1/3 plus. Another way to get a fraction is to hit the template key next to number 9 and choose fraction. And let's just add 1/4, and it'll do it for you. Keep it as simple as terms. To convert that to a decimal, there's a bunch of ways to do that. So one way is to hit Control Enter. That's approximately, there you go. By the way, if you want to see more digits of that number, if you mouse up, hit the up arrow, and then press Enter, you can see more digits. Sometimes you want to see more digits of a number for whatever reason, which is handy. Another way to get a decimal is to hit Menu, Number, approximate or convert to decimal. That will convert it. If you go Menu, Number, and go to Fraction, approximate to fraction, that's going to give you the fraction again. Another way to convert it, mouse up and press Enter. If you put a decimal place in the problem, in the fraction, I'm going to put 7 decimal point, as if I'm going to type a decimal, but I'm not. When I press Enter, it'll automatically give me a decimal. So if you know you want a decimal, you can put a decimal in the fraction, and it automatically does that. Also know with fractions, you can put fractions inside of fractions. Here's what I mean. We can do control divide. In the numerator, I'm going to put a fraction. So I'm going to say 2/3 divided by, control divide. I'm going to put a fraction in the denominator. 2/3 divided by 4/5. And it will, instead of divided by fractions, can multiply the reciprocal, do all that for you. So 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 4 is 12. 10 12ths is 5/6 when it simplifies. It simplifies really nicely. So you can put fractions on top of fractions. That's fine. I highly recommend using the fraction template every time you have a fraction. Just get in the habit. Just do it. So mode, just go back to this idea, because I think it's just a big thing you do a lot in the classes you're in. So if you want to do sine of 30 degrees, right now I'm in degree mode, but let's pretend for a second I was in radian mode. Again, you can just click that and it changes modes. So if I type in sine of 30 and hit Control Enter, it's going to give me the wrong answer. What I really want is sine of 30 degrees. So one way is to change it to degree by clicking up there at the top. So you use your touchpad like a swipe or no swiping. You swipe up on the touchpad like a laptop touchpad, and your cursor goes up here and you click. And now when I copy and paste, mouse up 2 times and press Enter, it'll give me the correct answer of that. Now, if I'm in the wrong mode, let's say I'm back in radian mode, I'm going to copy and paste this command, but right after the 30, I'm going to put the degree symbol. Where is that degree symbol? Let me check the pi. There it is, right below pi. Because I put 30 degrees, it doesn't matter what mode I'm in. If I'm in this mode, it's going to give me the correct answer of 0.5. So it's going to give me the answer I want, no matter the mode. So some students always use the degree symbol if they want degrees. In reverse, so if you wanted to do this in radians, let's say I want to get, say I'm in degree mode, but I want to do radians. So I'm going to do trig, so sine of, let's see, I think that's pi over 6. So I'm going to try that. Control divide, pi. Let's see, pi is this button. So right down there is the pi button. So you choose that, divided by 6. And I want to call that radians. So if you, let's see if it's in that button. I'm going to try it again. Right next to degrees is radians. So I'm going to call that radians. And it knows to convert that to degrees because I'm in degree mode. So different way of doing the problem, but you could do it that way as well. Just you can force it to do radians or degrees no matter what mode you're in, which is kind of interesting. Okay, let's go to the such that command is really interesting. So let's say you have something like negative 2 x squared plus 3x minus 5. And that just seems like a lot to plug in, especially if you're plugging in fractions or something like that. So that'd be hard to do. So, so if you hit Control equals, if you go to the left, you see that vertical bar there? That's not absolute value. That's the such that command. So I'm going to click that. You're hard to be able to see it, but I'm going to click it. It's there, but you can barely see it. But now I can type the variable x equals and choose a value, like x equals 3, and it'll plug in 3 for me. If I copy and paste and plug in 2, it plugs in 2. Again, copy and paste, plug in 1. It's really easy to change the value there. I can just check it really easy. So negative 2 plus 3 is 1, minus 5 is negative 4. That works, right? So you plugged in 1 there, 2, 3. Plugging fractions just as easily. You can even, if you want to show off to your friends, you can hit Control, close parentheses, and now you can put a list of numbers. 1, 2, 5, 7, whoops, 5, 7, comma, 7. And you could be plugging all 5 of those all at once. So that's kind of nifty that you can plug in multiple answers. Again, plugging in fractions, really nice for plugging in fractions because, again, if it's a fraction, if it was 1/2, it just plugs it in that fast. So just a fast way to plug in answers really quick. I like that move. Another move, I'm just going to show you this. It's kind of interesting. So I'm going to say 2 equals 2. Now, that's a true statement. 2 does equal 2. Or I can even put 2 plus 2 equals 4. We know that's true. But 2 plus 2, does that equal 5? That's false. So it's interesting that the calculator will identify this as either a true or false statement. So if you wanted to figure out, some students have trouble with this, like negative 3 is less than negative 5. Maybe you're having trouble with negatives. You're like, I don't know, is that true? Is that not true? Nope, that's not true. If you said negative 3 is greater than negative 5, that actually is true, right? So you could actually use inequalities or equations to test values if they work or not. That's different ways of doing that. I just wanted to mention that. So computer shortcuts work. Sometimes that's handy. If you wanted to, let's say you're highlighting 2 plus 2 equals 5. If you hit Control C, I'm going to try this. I think that copied it. Now if I hit, I'm going to try this. I don't know if I've tried this. Control V. So V is down here. Oh, it pastes it for me, doesn't it? So any kind of computer command, so like Control Z undoes something. Control Z is undo. Oh, I just undid what I did. Control Z again will undo the previous step before that. So it gets rid of that, right? So it just undoes. The other way of undoing is right above escape. If you hit Control Escape, you can undo previous things you've done. So if you make a mistake, I like having the undo key. Either Control Z or Control Escape is undo. Really nice to know how to use undo there. It's just like you would use on a computer kind of. Factor, I kind of like the factor command for factoring prime numbers. Here's what I mean. So, or factoring prime factorizations. Let's say you're trying to figure out the square root of 20. You're like, I don't know what that simplifies to be. So you do the prime factorization. So actually you go to the command menu. I think it's in algebra. There it is, factor. So factor 20. And what it does, it gives you the prime factorization really of any number. So if I wanted to prime factorize 96, it'll give me the prime factorization of 96. So really handy. That can be handy for simplifying radicals. Prime factorization is just nice to know how to do. Sometimes the ACT asks questions on that. It's just nice to know how to get prime factors of a number. Sometimes you use the scratchpad, which I'm okay with the scratchpad here, but maybe you use a lot, you're using it. Oh man, just use it so much. All these different complicated things here. And you're just getting too much stuff there. And you're like, I want to clear the screen. Some people just like to. So let's see, menu, actions, clear history. It's going to clear all the history from your scratchpad there. So that's one. Menu 1 is actions and then clear history. That'll clear it off for you. let's say Scratchpad works essentially the same as calculator page. It just doesn't talk to your other pages. If there's any variables in the graphing, it doesn't know about it here in the Scratchpad. We might get to that in the next lesson. I'm not going to talk too much about the variable sharing page to page here, but I am going to talk about I. So you're going to have some problems with, like I've seen a problem like I. So to type in I, the imaginary number I, you hit the pi key, and you can actually put to the, I think this will work. Let's see, it's 25th power. Like it'll simplify that. Like I to the 25th power, and there's a pattern to this. I to the 26th is -1. I to the 27th. You know, you can type that kind of thing in there. You can even multiply. So 2 plus 3i. Again, you have to hit the pi key and choose I. Times. I always like to put the implied multiplication even between parentheses with Nspire. I think it's a good move. 4 minus 6i. So I have to hit the pi key and choose I. And it'll, oh my goodness, all that simplified just to be 26. So that saved me a ton of work there. So typing in I stuff is really helpful sometimes. Matrices you can do right on the screen with the template key, so that the customizable matrix is this one, and you can choose a 2x3 matrix and type in a 2x3, add, subtract, multiply, those kinds of things with matrices. You can do that here on the screen. Copy and paste can be nice. Maybe you're trying to solve using the quadratic formula, for example. So control divide. I'm going to do it. So I'm going to do a problem here. So it's going to be, let's say that's just 5 plus square root 5 squared. So I'm going to put parentheses -5 squared, that's b squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is -6, all over 2 times a, which is 1. And it gives me one of my answers. If I copy and paste and change that minus sign to a plus sign to a minus, it gives me the other answer as well. I did the quadratic x squared minus 5x minus 6. But again, copy and pasting is just really handy. It works so nicely in so many different settings. If you want to change the settings on your calculator, you can do that. Menu. Actually, that's not that where you change the settings. It's dock actually. So dock, and then go to settings number 7, and then document settings. You probably want to leave most of these where they are. I think we sometimes adjust that depending on which class we're in. Sometimes like science class might want a different mode than math class would. Real complex, I usually keep it in real, but rectangular is what complex numbers are. So you can put it in that mode. It'll mess up graphing sometimes, but the nice thing about if you put it in rectangular mode, let's just try it. So now if I type in the square root of -1, it's going to tell me the answer is I. I'm going to change the mode back, and I would not leave it in that mode. So I don't usually leave it in that mode. So if I tab down there to rectangular and choose real, and any other modes you might change, that's about it. Now if I say that command, it says, non-real result, doesn't know how to simplify that. So you have to know how to do, you have to know how to type in an imaginary number. You have to know how to convert it. So it won't do that for you. Other commands, like let's say you want to do 3 times 2 times 1, that's a factorial. So the cool way to do that is hit 3, hit the question mark key here and go to factorial. That will do factorial. So this question mark key has a couple of cool things. It has percentage in there. Oh wow, you can do percentage. So you can do 32%. So I'm going to hit percent. Let's see what happens if I press enter. It puts it as a fraction, and then you can also convert it to decimal by typing control enter there. So you actually can type a percentage on Nspire. That's interesting, actually. those are mostly stuff you won't use. Other ones in Pi, I'm just looking at stuff we haven't touched about. E, definitely you'll see that number in some math classes soon if you haven't already, which can be nice. Infinity can be used only on CAS, not on non-CAS calculator. And again, the catalog is there if you need it here. It has all the commands. If you know command, like DBD, it's a funny one. DBD is you type in your date, the first date, and then you put in today's date and find out how many days you are old. So you could actually do that as long as you weren't born before 1950, which, phew, I'm safe. And you're not doing a year after 2049, so it only works for certain things. But you get all kinds of commands in here you might not even know about that you can find in the catalog. If you know the name of the command, you can always get it there. So say you want to get to nsolve or something, anything, you can just get to it there if you need to. And so just to remind you, you might already know this, but the templates have a lot in there. So if you hit the key next to number 9 there, I really like this one for type. You're going to come across cube roots or fourth root, and now we know how to take the cube root of a number. It'll do that for us. E to the power of, very nice command to know about. Absolute value, really nice to know. And again, these are matrices of different sizes and the fraction template. So I think that's pretty good for the calculator page. And as far as stuff you need to know, that's stuff you'll see quite often in math class. You want to be really good on the calculator page, just so you're ready to type in some of the advanced math problems if you need to or able to on a test or quiz or on the ACT. That's your lesson for today. That's module 2.